Dussehra is behind us, and today on It's the Economy, we are looking at sales in the last 10 days, Navratri days, on everything from cars to consumer durables. At one end, we had Maruti's sales head telling us earlier this morning that his company sold 1.65 lakh cars in the first 8 days of Navratri. He added that Maruti has never gone past 1 lakh sales in previous Navratris. At the other end, we had HUL giving its Q2, that is, of course, July, August, September sales. They said it will be 0 to low single digits growth, flat to low single digits. So how good exactly were the Navratri sales, and what should we expect from the rest of 2025 with Diwali and the marriage season lined up? I have with me CS Vigneshwar, the president of FADA, or the Federation of Auto Dealers, and Lalit Bhise, co-founder and CEO of the market research firm BIZOM. Lalit and Vigneshwar, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Vigneshwar, well, easier to count cars than a range of consumer durables. So my question is to you. Maruti says they are at least 65% more than previous times, but actually the gentleman was hinting to double the sales. That's a solid number that Maruti is telling us. Are you getting that feeling from your network?
Thank you, Latha, for having us. It's been a fantastic last 10 days of last month. It was really good in terms of walk-ins. Of course, the deliveries were phenomenal. They were record numbers. We also had a lot of excitement, both among the customers as well as the dealership community regarding the kind of sales which is happening. Of course, some of it was postponed into these 10 days from the last 40 days since the GST announcements. But we believe that apart from the postponements, there was also there were growth, genuinely there was excitement, and people's willingness to buy cars at a lower rate certainly helped in bringing this excitement in.
No, Maruti is telling us double. That number was a bit, got us, upright. The point is, as you point out, 5 weeks of sales was lost from August 15. Nobody would buy a car when you know that it is going to get cheaper at some point in time, and eventually by September 1st week, realize it's September 22. So that's August 15 to September 22, 5 weeks lost. There is a slack, but still double, Vigneshwar. Would you say that when your ultimate numbers are announced in 5th or 6th, it could be such a sturdy number?
It's going to be a phenomenal number because it's been quite breakneck. It's the largest growth we've ever seen during a Navratri season in probably a decade or more. And we're quite excited about it because what this brings is a lot of opportunities and a lot of happiness, opportunities for the dealerships, and the happiness and the joy of owning a car or a bike for a owner, for a customer, or for a guest. So this is going to really, I don't see this as a reform which has happened for a Navratri or for a quarter or for a year. I think this would last for a few years, if not a decade. It's quite landmark and path-breaking.
Yeah, I mean, there is the mix of income tax cuts as well, and lower interest rates. All that will definitely be aiding something as large a purchase as a car. Lalit, thank you for your patience. Here I'm getting two contrary opinions. We've got Q2 updates, initial updates only from two companies. HUL told us flat to single digit, low single digit, and V-Mart told us 22% sales, and they are looking at the full Q2. So it must be very good in the last 10 days. What's your experience?
Right. I mean, so thanks, Latha, for having me. Right. So like you were saying, currently India is made up of two worlds, right? So one is this whole traditional FMCG world. And then these are these insurgent brands who are taking up market share from these traditional players via new channels like quick commerce or new growth areas like rural. Local brands are taking up and so on and so forth. What we saw in Navratri, the post GST 2.0, was that value growth kind of remained flat for FMCG, but volume growth kind of compensated for it. So about 10 to 15% volume or consumption overall grew in that particular era year on year but the value obviously remained flat. And in FMCG especially, there was not so much of a pent-up demand. It is just showing consistent trends, so to say. Because even before 22nd of September, so unlike maybe like cars or consumer durables, there was no dip in demand. Whereas in categories like durables and others, there was a dip, and hence there was a larger bump during Navratri.
Okay. Yeah, fair point. Actually, many of the FMCG sales can't be postponed. I mean, you can't postpone buying a toothpaste or a cream or whatever, or soaps. And I don't think the GST on those items even changed. They were always, many of them were at the 5% mark. The real difference came for consumer durables, especially cars, as well for other consumer durables. But, have you got any idea about what number you can put to the consumer durable sales? Clearly, there is a pent up, but still, how is, you have the Q2 numbers to some extent. How were the entire Q2 sales? Were they much worse because of the dip, the 5-week dip?
So in consumer durables, yes, for Q2, you should see a dip, a small dip, any which way. If I look at the bounce back, at least in 9 days, we got a 5% value growth, about 18% volume growth in general in the whole consumer durables, even categories like materials, building materials like your paint, cements. These are typically festive categories. Home care is another festive category. So you typically would see a 5% bump just in that period, that 1 week period last year to this year. And that would be corresponding to the drop that happened before in terms of people delaying their purchases. So net, I wouldn't imagine the consumption has grown too large. It is in the similar FMCG range as 10 to 15%, and the remaining 15 to 20% would be to attribute for the dip we had pre-Navratri, so to say, or pre-GST.
Okay. Do you remember 10 to 15% sales growth in previous festivals, or would 10 to 15 be a kind of a new high or a recent high?
It is a recent high. Last year wasn't as high, and that was also because of the whole post-COVID thing. Right, so there was a post-COVID bump. So the base is obviously
the revenge buying was over. Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so last year wasn't as good. Vigneshwar, are you noticing any transition to premium, or are you noticing any better response to the small car? Because the difference between the motorcycle and the small car had grown so huge. Now with the GST cut, are more people transiting? Basically, what if you can give us some qualitative difference between small car demand and SUV demand?
The two basic questions which you asked here is whether the premiumization is happening and also the entry-level segment are easing out the pressures there. The premiumization has been happening quite strongly for quite some time, and I think the reduction in the GST and the overall price reduction would certainly lead to premiumization. We've also seen this in the last month. We have seen this especially in the last 10 days, that a lot of people are going for a little bit more premium version of the same car, or some customers have actually shifted to the next segment in terms of a two-wheeler or also a four-wheeler. So that's happening, which is bound to happen because more people want better features. Better features means a better safety, better comfort, etc. More importantly, you also asked a question about the entry-level segments, both the two-wheelers and the four-wheelers. We've been facing a lot of headwinds in the last couple of years in terms of people not going for those vehicles. The entry-level segment is super important for any industry, especially for us in the auto industry, because they are the base. They kind of tend to give a very strong foundation for an industry. So at this base would further go on to upgrade into a better car or a two-wheeler in the years to come. So this has been quite stagnant in the last couple of years, but we have seen a lot of growth happen in the entry-level segments, especially in the two-wheelers and the four-wheelers. More importantly, we've also seen a lot of activity in the urban areas of our country. The last few years have been the rural has been a segment which has really held the industry state. But because of the price pressures versus the growth in salaries, which were not yes, because of that, the urban areas did have pressures. But this GST reform has certainly helped in terms of these customers coming back to our showroom to buy vehicles.
Fair enough. Lalit, can you give any more color in terms of premiumization, in terms of regions, rural, urban. Any more color to the demand you saw in the last 1 month and you expect?
Right, right. So like Vigneshwar mentioned, Latha, I think the premiumization is a trend in India consumers, which is here to stay. Right. So we have seen that happen even in FMCG. And partly that is the reason why you see somebody like HUL not growing as fast, because the product innovation or the whole consumer trends towards natural, organic, the large incumbent FMCGs haven't caught up with that level of product innovations. So some of that market share obviously has gone to the newer players, more insurgent brands, or even to some of the local brands. And that is something we clearly see even as a trend in FMCG, and that is going on for almost more than a year now. From urban-rural point of view, while urban did show weakness in OND and to some extent in JFM, April onwards we have seen urban also pick up.
Okay.
Right? Currently, urban and rural are quite neck to neck, to be honest with you, in
Fair.
FMCG.
That's good to hear. A very quick couple questions to you, Vigneshwar. One, it looks like the compensation cess will have to be borne by dealers and manufacturers. The sounds we are getting is that it can't be passed on to consumers. Will that be a wet blanket? And secondly, IT is in big trouble. They're either sacking or certainly not recruiting. And what is you are in Coimbatore, Bangalore, Chennai, that's the base. Is that adequately countered by the GST?
It's very important that every other industry does well for us to do well. Only when the other industries do well will they come and buy a vehicle. So every time I get up in the morning, I really wish every industry does well, so that we could bear the fruits of their success. It's very important that the IT industry does well. Yes, there is a disruption, but I would think disruption comes into every industry, and every industry is strong enough, especially in India. We are quite resilient to come out of it. So we really look forward to the government and also to the various large companies to come together and sort these things out.
Okay.
And I'm sure they could find other markets. I'm sure they could find other dimensions where they could be of use. Yes, the cess is a bit of a sandbag, if I can call it. The new GST reforms are something which is so path-breaking and which can make a lot of opportunities come alive for the industry throughout India. And I somehow think if the government can sort this out as fast as possible, all of us could partake in this. Otherwise, we would be sandbagging and we would be getting off the block on a limb. So this is, there are, I mean, in various ways of calculating, there are anywhere between 2,500 to 6,000 crores of money stuck, which we have paid for. And we're not able to take credit for it. We've been approaching the various government agencies. They have been sympathetic, understanding, but yet we are yet to hear.
Manufacturers, I thought, should take a bait because after all, they are the guys whose stuff you're selling. Any agreement with manufacturers, no?
We've been talking to them. They are the big brothers out there. So the big brother needs to probably give us a helping hand at this situation and help us out.
Okay.
So we've been talking to them, and it'll be great if they could step forward and help their channel, their network.
Okay. Well, let's wait and see. We will invite you for that conversation when perhaps something material happens. Thank you very much, Lalit and Vigneshwar, for your optimism, in some cases cautious optimism, about how the festival seasons perhaps are going to be among the best we have seen. Wrap up on Bazaar on that note. Chartbusters coming.